Members, I'm going to call on Members' Order of the Day number 2.
Holidays, full recognition of Waitangi Day and Anzac Day Amendment Bill, second reading.
I call the Honourable Member Dr David Clark.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Holidays, full recognition of Waitangi Day and Anzac Day Amendment Bill be now read a second time.
Very good.
Mr Speaker, it is a pleasure to be speaking to the second reading of this bill. Like Mr Ockenvold, this represents my first bill through this House, and I am grateful for the opportunity to do that. I do understand Mr Ockenvold's gone to do media, so he may not hear this speech in its fullness. But before I get too far into this address, I do wish to put on record my thanks to other parties in this Parliament that have come together to support this bill. And there have been pledges of support for this bill from the Green Party, from New Zealand First, from the Māori Party, from Mana Party, from United Future and from Brendan Horan. And without the support of all of these colleagues, this bill could not proceed. And I think it is a sign of how the Parliament can come together when there is something that is obviously a sensible thing to do, that we ought to get on and do, and that can just proceed without the need for the government to be involved, it seems. The government is on the wrong side of this bill, and yet they cannot stop its progress. So the bill has returned from Select Committee with what might be described only as cosmetic changes. Those changes are aimed at clarifying, for legal reasons, its purpose. The bill is largely as it went into the Select Committee. It was very well drafted, and for that I wish to place on record my thanks to Mr Robertson, its previous sponsor. Yes. It has continued to enjoy widespread support. 80% in the most recent Stuff poll is indicative of all of the surveys I have seen. And the only quantitative survey of the business community that's available did actually survey 1,000 small and medium enterprises, so it could be seen as reasonably authoritative in that sphere. And that survey recorded support of 50% in favour of the bill, and if you add to that number in favour those who regard it in a neutral way, you get to 87%. So there are 87% who either feel neutrally about it or support it. There are only 13% of that community who, for one reason or another, are not in favour of the bill passing. And it's fair to say even that has been a muted response. So it's the kind of bill that enjoys very widespread support. And so that is why it is a pleasure to bring this bill to the House. It's one that has widespread support and that seems to represent common sense. So it's little wonder, I guess, too, when it gives hard-working Kiwis some well-deserved time with their friends and family. We know that we work very long hours in New Zealand, and this bill provides us with the opportunity to have a couple of extra days every 7 years. The bill addresses an issue that really only occurs in those years when Waitangi and Anzac fall on a weekend, Mr Speaker. It'll amend the Holidays Act 2003 to provide for the transfer of the public holidays for Waitangi and Anzac if they fall on a weekend. The days of celebration will still be the 6th of February and the 25th of April respectively, but there will also be a public holiday on the Monday that follows. The bill came into existence really in response to the situation in 2011 when Kiwis had only 9 holidays in a year when they were expecting 11 public holidays. And Mr Grant Robertson spotted that anomaly and identified a public mood for change. So we know that in those years when we miss those holidays, we really do miss those holidays. It's what we already do for Christmas and other public holidays, Mr Speaker. Christmas is still celebrated on the 25th of December each year, even when it falls on a weekend. The only difference is that Kiwis know they can count on a holiday being added after Boxing Day. It's time they will get to spend with their friends and families. And it's exactly the same with New Year. When New Year's Day falls on a weekend, revellers do not hold off their celebrations. Instead, they count on subsequent and additional days of recreation. And it's also what they do in Australia, by the way. We know that in Australia, Anzac Day is already Mondayised in 7 of their 8 territories. In Western Australia, in Victoria, in Australian Capital Territory, in New South Wales, in South Australia, in Queensland and in Northern Territory. They Mondayise Anzac Day. And anecdotally, the experience is that they get increased turnouts at the dawn parades, because I guess it stands to reason. You can imagine on a Sunday morning, if you've got small children and you know you've got school the next day, it's easier not to go to those kind of commemorations. But when you know you've got the next day to spend with friends and family relaxing, it makes sense to take your family along. You might even travel to be with your family to commemorate the important occasion of Anzac Day. And I think Anzac Day does have a growing significance for New Zealanders as a part of their national identity and as a part of our history. And that is part of what this bill recognises, that growing significance to New Zealand of Anzac Day. The nearest equivalent of Waitangi Day in Australia is Australia Day. And we find that in Australia, again, 7 out of 8 of their territories already Mondayise that day. It's only New South Wales that doesn't Mondayise. So the majority of Australians are used to this kind of thing. It's what they do there. It's what we're in fact used to with all our other holidays. And it's a little bit of an anomaly that we don't already do this for Anzac and Waitangi. And I guess that when those holidays were originally formed, we perhaps didn't celebrate them so universally as a country in such a significant way as we do now. And that's why I think the time has come to give these holidays the full recognition that other holidays have. Mr. Speaker, I've been asked by a lot of people when this bill will take effect and what it really means for them in terms of when the holidays kick in. For the record, the Anzac Day holiday on April 25th next falls on a Saturday in 2015. That's the first time that we will have the Monday in lieu after this bill passes through to law. Waitangi Day the following year, and then it's not until 2020 that Anzac Day falls on a weekend, and again in 2021, and likewise for Waitangi Day it's 2021 and 2022. So until 2022 we can look forward to an extra 6 days holiday as a result of this bill. So, Mr. Speaker, it's symbolic, but it also recognises that in those years when we miss the public holidays, we really do miss them. And this fixes it. I guess it's a bit like a house that leaks. When it's not raining, you don't notice it, but when it is raining, you do. And now that it's not raining, this year we did have our full complement of 11 holidays. We're taking the opportunity to repair the roof, to make sure that we fix the situation so that we do celebrate these holidays fully in those years when they fall on a weekend. Mr. Speaker, the bill overall, if we look at it in broad perspective, is about giving Kiwis a decent break. Kiwis deserve all of the holidays they get, and this ensures they get those 11 public holidays each and every year. Not many, my colleague says. 11 it could be more, but 11 is a good start, and that's what this bill achieves. So we also know that there's been a bit of scaremongering. I wish to put on record that the government's numbers have been shown to be fairly inadequate. That, again, my colleague comments, and he's right, the figures they came up with the costs did not take into effect the self-employed people who aren't affected by the change in public holidays. They ignored the benefits of domestic tourism, which Martin Snedden made a lot of. It's strange that the Minister of Tourism hasn't come out in support of this bill. The industry is certainly hurting over that from those that I've spoken to. And certainly I had some opportunity to be in the Coromandel over the break, and people up there were unhappy with their electorate MP for the fact that it wasn't being supported. So we see around the country that the benefits weren't counted. We also see that the numbers just don't stack on a range of other reasons, too numerous to mention here, Mr. Speaker. So I want to, in closing, say that the Labor Party is very proud to bring this bill to the House because it does give the full recognition that other holidays have and make sure that hard-working Kiwis get to spend the time with friends and families each and every year, not just 5 years out of 7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. I recognise the honourable member David